Okay, good afternoon, everyone. As you can see, the House is just still starting up. There is a live press conference right now with some of the Liberal ministers, so I just want to tune into that while we wait. Let's see what they're yapping about.
The civil service has grown significantly in recent years. With budget cuts coming, what can we expect for the future size of the civil service?
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you. By the way, you may not know, but it's our third day on the job, so we're celebrating amazing women. We're celebrating also young women who are making their way, and I think it's your third day. I got that right? Okay, you wouldn't want the finance minister to get the numbers right. First of all, thank you for the question. It's great to meet you. Thanks for the question. Well, we've been very clear with Canadians. The budget that Canadians will see. And I must say something. I have done a lot of announcement in my 10 years as a member of parliament, and I don't know how many years as a minister, but today I'm emotional. This is one of those that you remember because it's the story of people, and you remember why you serve. You serve for the people. And I can assure you that the budget next week, I don't know if I'll raise to the level that David has said. No one can match Richie, I can assure you that, but I'll do my best. I'll do my very best to inspire Canadians to do more together. It's going to be generational. I think Canadians understand we're facing some headwinds. We heard a number of stories today that Canadians, women, young people are facing, but as a society we're facing a lot of headwinds. What I would say is that we're lucky to have the fiscal capacity to be able to do the right thing. Today is an example of that. When you have a strong fiscal capacity, you can make a difference in the lives of people. You can make funding for women organizations permanent. You can make sure that this country will be more inclusive. You can make sure that we appeal to the greatness of Canadians. And at the same time, if we want to invest more in the cause that we believe in the value that we sustain as Canadians, we need to spend less so we can invest more. So I've been very clear to Canadians that to our expenditure review, we had to make tough choices. There's nothing easy when you're looking at that, but we have been fair in what we're doing. We have been balanced in doing that. And when it comes to the civil service, you know, I've served, I think, 5 departments now, and I can tell you that each and every one of them, men and women who serve, they do their very best for Canadians. Is it true that when you're looking at how we can improve processes, how we can merge programs within the department, how we can use better technology, would they be workforce adjustments? The answer is yes. But you do that in a compassionate way, you do that in a fair way, you do that in a smart way. And I think that's what Canadians expect from us, and that's what we're going to deliver to Canada. Yeah, I'm not going to QP, so I can stay, you know, but Minister Valdez is saying, my colleagues, big round of applause. By the way, for the national press, if you see people disappearing behind me, it's not because of what I've said. It's because there's question period coming at 2:15 and I don't have to go today. So, but I can stay with you for a few minutes for sure.
Thank you, Minister. Rachel Aiello, CTV News. So you've made it clear that there are going to be generational investments in this budget. You spent a number of weeks now talking about new funding. But what you have yet to make clear is what are the sacrifices in this budget? What kind of sacrifices should Canadians be expecting?
Well, we're going to have to make choices. And I think this is a generational moment. I've said, I think I answered a question this morning as I was walking in the building. I said, people in the room understand this is not business as usual. The headwind is strong. We see the world changing. We see this has an impact in our lives, in our communities, in our families. We see it in so many different ways. I can tell you, I come from rural Canada, and you were mentioning stories of people that feel it in day-to-day life. So we're going to be making these kind of generational investments that are going to make Canada strong. The places where we can build in infrastructure, when we can build in housing. I heard housing before because housing for me is one of the places that you need, obviously, to support people in order for them to be able to build that life that they're looking at. And I'm looking at young people. When it comes to tough decisions, I would say a lot of the tough decision has been around making government more efficient and making sure that we adopt some of these new processes, I said, technology, and the different way of doing. And there will be example of that we have done in the budget. We'll be very transparent to you, and I think Canadians will see that we are serious, we are credible, and this is a national effort, because if we want to succeed and if we want everyone in this country to succeed in the next generation, we have to make that, but you would expect, as finance minister, that the detail will be in the budget. I'm happy to tell you that I'm not sugarcoating it to people. Yes, we had to make tough choices, but when you make tough choices, you're able to focus, you're able to prioritize, you're able to invest in places that makes a difference. And I'm the one with my colleagues who went to the number of, in some departments program or inefficient processes. I can tell you the revenue agency, for example, where we saw things we need to improve. We put 100-day plan. I mean, at the end of the day, people need to feel in this room that they have value for money. And when we have more money to do that, to invest, then we can support organizations like today. We can make choice in the budget, and we will own these choices. And Canadians can judge us for that, but I can tell you that coming on November 4th, Canadians will see that we understand the generational shift that is happening, and we're taking the direction to make sure generations will be better off.
And we're now just a few days away from the budget itself being presented. I'm just curious, have you finalized the budget document, or are there still revisions being made before it's off to the printer?
You should come back to the office with me. You could see, listen, you would expect that as we're coming close to November 4th, we're coming down to, the main things that happen, but obviously we will be ready to deliver something that Canadians will be proud on November 4th. And I look forward to present it, on behalf of all Canadians, because the story today is about the story of people, and I'll try to be the voice of Canadians and say, I'm standing here with you, with humility, but also with confidence to say, let's take the journey together, because this is how we're going to make our country stronger.
Next question, Kate.
Good afternoon, Minister. Kate McKenna with CBC.
So I have to take all the question now. They all went to question period, right? Okay, that's how it works. You go.
The steel sector says your exemptions on retaliatory tariffs are drying up their order books, and they've been asking you to change it. Will you stop exempting so much American steel?
So what I can say is that, first of all, the remission that we have granted to Canadian businesses, which is the downstream businesses in the industry, it's much smaller than the first time. It's about 1/3 if I go out of memory. You have to understand that these remission are often needed because, for example, you would have businesses that need the kind of steel that we just don't make in Canada. That, for example, they already had contract for these steel products. So we have been very, very diligent in how we grant these exemptions. I can assure you there's strong due diligence because, first and foremost, we need to be our own best customers. It needs to be Canada by default. That's why we're saying we're going to have a Buying Canada policy that you've heard, because that's the way. We need to support our worker, we need to support our industry, but at the same time, we need to understand that we just don't produce everything yet in our country when it comes to steel products. So obviously, that's why we put a fund, the Strategic Response Fund of $5 billion to make sure we can help companies like, for example, Algoma to pivot and make sure that they would have the resources and they would have the financing in order to pivot, so we are more self-reliant in Canada when it comes to steel product or aluminum or other products. So I can assure you when we make these decisions to grant very time-limited, very specific exemption is usually for very specific products that are needed to make sure our country
that was a
keeps
long way of
going.
saying no.
But I hear the steel industry, we're going to fight for them, we're going to fight for the worker because they're, a country like Canada needs a vibrant and strong steel industry. We need to build like never before, so we count on them and their talent.
Okay, enough of this Yahoo. I don't want to listen to him anymore either.
Inspiring. Despite a difficult school experience, she persevered, obtained her diploma, and taught herself to read after being functionally illiterate until the age of 25. Today, this Sherbrooke native charms the world with expositions in London, Hong Kong, and Stockholm. Her unique approach inspires the artists of tomorrow to use art to convey powerful messages. Colleagues, if you ever find yourselves in Sherbrooke, I would invite you to stop by Whiting Lane to see for yourselves the finesse of her striking works. October is coming to an end, but the impact of women lives on.
The Honourable Member for Moose Jaw Lake Centre, Lanigan.
Mr. Speaker, Saskatchewan is known as the land of the living skies. This is especially true for the riding of Moose Jaw Lake Centre Lanigan, home of the Canadian Forces Snowbirds. For over 50 years, the Snowbirds have thrilled airshow audiences around the world, showing the professionalism of the Canadian military. The parliamentary budget officer today pointed out this government's shameful $18 billion shortfall in spending on our Canadian forces. What I'm hearing about the future of the snowbirds, I don't like. Their future seems to be in question. Mr. Speaker, the snowbirds are a Canadian icon. It's time to get our team new jets. After a successful 2025 season, on behalf of my colleagues, I salute the dedicated personnel of 431 Air Demonstration Squadron. Their commitment to showcasing Canadian excellence continues to make our nation proud. We should return the favor by giving them proper equipment to do their job.
The honourable member for Fredericton, Oromocto.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize a beloved institution in downtown Fredericton, Tony's Music Box. The family-owned musical instrument store has served the community with passion and dedication for 50 years. Founded in 1975 by the late Tony George, Tony's Music Box quickly became more than just a store. C'était un centre de créativité.
It was a center for creativity and a pillar for culture in Fredericton.
Professionals, generations of musicians were welcomed with warmth, encouragement, and always an enthusiastic handshake. The store's legacy will live on through the countless people it inspired. The staff were not just salespeople, they were mentors, musicians themselves, teachers, and champions of local talent.
While their doors will close a little later this year, this iconic business, well, we honor the memories, the music, and the immeasurable contribution of Tony's Music Box.
All the staff that made it such a special store, thank you. Merci.
The honourable member for Calgary-Midnapore.
On Thursday, Calgary police reported a man was stabbed in broad daylight in Fish Creek Provincial Park, a park in my riding that should be an oasis of peace and nature for community and families. Last August, a 7-year-old girl was sexually assaulted in that same park. This is unacceptable. Just a decade ago, it would have been unthinkable that brazen daylight stabbings or sexual assaults would happen in Calgary-Midnapore. However, as a result of the Liberals' soft-on-crime laws like C5 and C75, they are becoming normal occurrences in South Calgary. Violent crime in my city has increased by 59% since the Liberals took office, and it's not getting any better. Conservatives have responded with our Jail Not Bail Act. Liberals must work to pass this legislation as soon as possible to restore not just my great riding of Calgary-Midnapore, but Canada to a place of tranquility and safety.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. On October 30th, 1995, Quebec went from 40% support for sovereignty in 1980 to just under 50%, just a hair's breadth away from Quebec becoming a country. History has determined what we know about it. The so-called Canadian raison d'etat served as a cover for cheating, lies, and secrets. The spontaneous creation of voters and a love-in with a whiff of hypocrisy. And so what next? Now Quebecers, all Quebecers, must look ahead and simply ask themselves what kind of country they want and how to make that happen. Remember, beyond the bitterness over what was taken from an entire nation, our attention must be focused entirely on the future, to the next date, a date that we can't afford to miss. Jacques Parizeau left us with a fundamental message at the end of his life, a message that resonates in the current continental context as well as our destiny. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, he said.
Member for Don Valley North.
Mr. Speaker, this past weekend I had the pleasure of joining the Toronto Neutralia Lions Club for their wonderful Diwali and Thanksgiving celebration. I want to take this occasion to acknowledge the Neutralia Lions Club for their dedication to humanitarian causes and charitable organizations. I commend them for fundraising an incredible $143,500 to help equip North York General Hospital in my riding of Don Valley North with more cancer care and emergency beds. I advise the House of this great community-minded group of neighbors, professionals, and retirees who volunteer their time and effort to keep making Don Valley a better place for everyone. As you see, Mr. Speaker, when the community calls, the lions roar.
Yes.
The honourable member for North Island, Powell River.
Mr. Speaker, in a democracy, we elect leaders based on the promises they make, and we hold them accountable based on the promises that they keep. This Prime Minister was elected on the promise to get the cost of living under control. Instead, prices at the grocery store keep going up. He was elected on the promise to, quote, build, baby, build, to double the pace of new home construction. Instead, CMHC says home building will drop 13% over the next several years. He was elected to get spending under control, to embark on a series of nation-building projects, and to strike a trade deal with the United States. 6 months later, not a single permit approved, not a single shovel in the ground, and Canada's spending and debt is higher than ever before. And not only is there no deal with the Americans, this Prime Minister has removed Canadian counter-tariffs while getting nothing in return. It's been 6 months of broken promises, Mr. Speaker. Canadians want to know how much longer they have to wait before they start seeing results from this Prime Minister.
Good job. Good job. Good job. The honourable member for Whitby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I rise to spotlight two exceptional educators in my riding who are receiving the Prime Minister's Award for Teaching Excellence. These awards celebrate the finest in Canadian teaching, and both recipients represent the very best of Whitby, laying the foundation for a stronger Canada, one student, one classroom, one lesson at a time. Congratulations to Melissa Runhart, recipient of the National Certificate of Excellence, and Penny Senior, recipient of the Regional Certificate for Achievement in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. Melissa and Penny, thank you for all you do. We are proud to honor you today. Your influence extends far beyond the classroom. Colleagues, please join me in recognizing these two exceptional teachers.
The honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
Revelations at the Ethics Committee have exposed the Prime Minister's company, Brookfield, as one of Canada's largest tax dodgers. Leading tax transparency experts show that Brookfield avoided an incredible $6.5 billion in Canadian taxes through the use of offshore tax havens over just 5 years. Now, while chair of Brookfield, the Prime Minister set up 3 multi-billion-dollar investment funds in Bermuda and the Cayman Islands, shielding profits from Canadian taxes. And these are funds that could line the Prime Minister's pockets through future bonus payments. Canadians deserve to know that the Prime Minister is making decisions in the public interest, not his own financial interest. That's why it was shocking that Liberals voted to try to shut down this investigation to improve transparency for Canadians. While Liberals vote to protect powerful politicians, Conservatives will stand up for hardworking Canadian taxpayers. We will not back down. We will defend hardworking Canadian taxpayers, and we're going to hold this Liberal Prime Minister accountable. Here.
The honourable member for Vaudreuil.
The incredible work of the Pure Art Foundation and the group of 39 Canadian volunteers who recently returned from their annual humanitarian trip to Pucallpa, Peru. Led by Robert and Bridget McKinnon of Hudson, this team built a new home for a family of 10 in the Menante district. Through the Foundation's CAST program, they worked alongside local tradespeople to lay bricks, install windows, and build a home that will keep a family safe and dry during the rainy season. They even furnished it with new mattresses, pillows, and sheets, a true gift of both comfort and dignity. Since building its first home in 2007, the Pure Art Foundation has supported the creation of more than 40 homes, a medical clinic, a daycare, a community center, and a sustainable sewing initiative that empowers women to support their families. To every volunteer who participated in this year's trip to Peru, thank you for showing what true compassion looks like. You remind us that when we come together as a community, there is no limit to what we can achieve. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Newmarket, Aurora.
2.2 million visits to Canada's food banks in a single month, and 1 in 3 of those walking through the doors are children. That's over 700,000 little ones in a single month. Too many Canadian families cannot afford to feed themselves, and what do the Liberals say? Why should parents feed their children when the government can do it for them? as if dependence on the government were compassion. Conservatives believe in a Canada where every parent can afford a safe home and good food for their family. But this Prime Minister stubbornly doubles down on the same inflationary policies that drove food prices through the roof. Every dollar this Liberal government overspends comes from Canadians, and it drives the price of everything, including food, up. When will the Prime Minister stop punishing Canadians, reverse inflationary deficits, remove hidden taxes on groceries, fertilizer, farm and farm equipment, so that food prices can finally come down?
The honourable member for Oakville West.
Mr. Speaker, today, as the first Canadian of Turkish heritage elected to Parliament, I'm deeply honoured to join the students of Turkish Canadian community who are right here in the gallery above as we celebrate the 102nd anniversary of the Republic of Turkey. C'est une journée très spéciale pour les Canadiens d'origine turque. October 29th reaffirms our NATO allies' commitment to democracy and national sovereignty. Turkish Canadians honor the legacy of Atatürk, whose vision and determination gave birth to a secular, democratic, and contemporary state. His enduring principle, peace at home, peace in the world, reminds us of the importance of stability and cooperation among both nations and the peoples. Atatürk's belief that sovereignty belongs to unconditional to the nation deeply resonates here in Canada, where democracy, freedom, and diversity define who we are. Long live Turkey, long live Canada, long live our enduring friendship and alliance. Cumhuriyet Bayramınız kutlu olsun.
Oral questions, questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
After 10 costly budgets, deficit budgets from these Liberals, they've ballooned the debt, the cost of groceries and housing. Canadians now deserve an affordable budget for affordable living. The Prime Minister promised that people could judge him based on food prices, but those prices have only gone up, and the number of people using food banks has doubled. So will the government work in cooperation with us, with our proposals for an affordable budget and affordable living? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, we will certainly work towards affordability with an affordable budget, but the opposition leader is making proposals that he wouldn't even put in his own election platform. 6 months ago, Canadians gave us a mandate to present a plan to spend less and invest more, and that's what we're going to have on November 4th. And I hope that the opposition leader will not trigger Christmas elections and that he will support our budget. Clearly, the Government House Leader doesn't want to trigger an expensive election over an expensive budget. But Canadians should not have to choose between an expensive budget or an expensive election. They should be able to choose an affordable budget for affordable living. And that's what we're proposing. For example, scrapping the tax, the industrial carbon tax on farmers so that Canadians could buy affordable food. Will the Prime Minister accept that proposal? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, we announced a series of steps going to affordability, including school food programs and automatic registration for benefits that should reduce poverty among Canadians. But each time we propose an affordability measure, the opposition leader orders his troops, he orders them to vote against them. So which foot is he dancing on? Either he wants to help Canadians or he wants a Christmas election. Which is it?
Mr. Speaker, Canadians cannot afford a 10th costly budget that drives up the price of groceries and housing. What they need, in fact, is an affordable budget for an affordable life. This Prime Minister, though, has driven up the cost of the bureaucracy, the consultants, and therefore inflation, so Canadians are paying more for everything. We have put forward common sense proposals to make life more affordable, like eliminating all the hidden taxes on food. Will the Prime Minister put partisanship aside and work with us on an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, happy days, Mr. Speaker. There will be an affordable budget for an affordable life presented in this House on November 4th. And we certainly hope the opposition leader will order his troops to vote for it instead of ordering the very nervous ones to vote against it and cause a very expensive Christmas election here in Canada. Will the opposition leader tell his very nervous troops to vote for our affordable budget on November 4th?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
There he goes, trying to use a costly budget to trigger a costly election. And we know what he wants to distract from the fact that this Prime Minister has broken every promise he's made by triggering a costly election on a costly budget. But, Mr. Speaker, Canadians shouldn't have to choose between a costly budget and a costly election. They can choose an affordable budget with an affordable life. And we're putting forward the proposals on how to do that, like eliminating the industrial carbon tax on our farmers who feed us. Will they take our positive, collaborative ideas for an affordable budget and affordable life? Yes or no?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
There he goes again. There he goes again, Mr. Speaker, with the imaginary taxes. More and more and increasingly, Mr. Speaker, in his own caucus he has imaginary friends. So this leader of the opposition understands, as all Canadians do, that they gave us a mandate 6 months ago for stability, for calm, not slogans, solutions, affordability, get a trade deal with the United States, and yes, Mr. Speaker, bring a plan and a budget to build a Canadian economy very strong.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that member and the Prime Minister are trying to provoke a costly election on their costly budget. They're again playing costly games. But this is not about games. This is about the people lined up at food banks, 2.2 million of them. That number has doubled since this government took office 10 years ago. It's about Jacqueline Stone, who says it's heartbreaking. It's hard. It's just tough making ends meet. She says that she feels embarrassed and disheartened to have to turn back items when she's at the checkout and her bank account goes empty. Will the government reverse course and bring in an affordable budget so that people like Jacqueline can have an affordable life?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Well, let's hear from another person in Canada who's doing really important work as well, and that's Kirsten Beardsley, the CEO of Canada Food Banks. And she said with proper long-term investment and improved access, these kinds of initiatives are showing early promise for greater adoption and expansion. She also said that we should make the school food program permanent, that we should help the lowest income workers, Mr. Speaker, that we should increase access to affordable housing, Mr. Speaker. That's all in our budget, Mr. Speaker. We know, we've been talking about what's coming. We hope these guys will get on board and stop standing in the way of Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, these Liberal programs do not feed children. They feed bureaucracy, consultants, lobbyists, and insiders. We know that because since they brought in all of these promises, we've seen food bank use more than double. By the government's own admission, 25% of kids go to school hungry after 10 years of these Liberal policies. Why? Because the more this government spends, the more things cost. Every dollar they spend comes out of the pockets of hardworking Canadians. Haven't they learned their lesson after 10 years that we need an affordable budget so Canadians can have affordable lives?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's clear that the Leader of the Opposition's driving for a Christmas election. He'd rather do that, Mr. Speaker, than stand up for the moms and dads across this country who are looking for affordable childcare, who want us to make the school food program permanent, Mr. Speaker, who want to invest in women's safety, Mr. Speaker, in shelters and homes and wraparound housing, Mr. Speaker. That's what Canadians want. They want things that are going to help their families and their communities, and these guys are threatening to take it all away.
The honourable member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the government is in a minority position. If they want their budget to pass, they have to negotiate with someone. But this morning, the government House Leader confirmed that he is talking to the opposition, but he isn't negotiating. He himself says so. He doesn't call it negotiations. He says that the opposition's demands in terms of principles are out of the question. In short, he's willing to talk, but not negotiate. He'll talk, he'll chat, he'll discuss, but that's it. So does he want this budget to pass, or is he trying to trigger a Christmas election? The Honourable Government House Leader.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, I always enjoy discussing with my counterparts and members on all sides of the House. Obviously, she should speak to her colleague from Gaspésie, les Îles de la Madeleine, or from Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean. I've had very interesting discussions about some very important projects in their ridings. Maybe she has some, and I'd be pleased to dialogue, discuss, negotiate, whatever you want to call it, with her and their leader as well. The honourable member for Saint-Jean. The Liberals simply don't want to negotiate for us to support their budget. They don't want to invest in healthcare. They don't want to correct the injustice in old age pensions. They don't want to transfer money to housing and infrastructure without strings attached. They don't want to give Quebec back the $814 million they stole to buy Canadian votes. They don't want to help young people get property. They just don't want to. It seems what they do want is to call an election at Christmas. Why don't they just come clean? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, the only question is, who from the Bloc or the Conservative Party wants to trigger a Christmas election most? The Bloc has given us a series of non-negotiable demands. The Bloc itself is talking about non-negotiable demands. How do you negotiate something that's non-negotiable? They talk about money that Quebec is owed. The Conservative leader wants the deficit brought down. The Bloc wants more spending. We're trying to strike a balance. Joliette-Nanawan. The honourable member for Joliette-Nanawan. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are responsible for the current housing crisis. The PBO calculated rents have increased by 26% just because of the federal government's excessive immigration policies. All tenants, including immigrants, are paying 26% more in rent because of the Liberals. To correct this fiasco, the Rapid Housing Initiative has to be renewed and made permanent, and Quebec's share must be transferred to Quebec unconditionally. That's the minimum. Why are the Liberals refusing to include this in the budget, even to the point of threatening an election?
Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the question.
For supporting affordable housing, and we are focused on homelessness first and foremost. Mr. Speaker, we are dedicating $1 billion, the first billion in the budget, to solving homelessness, working with cities and towns across the country to get supportive modular housing built, transitional housing to help people out of shelters, off of the street, and into a safe place to call home. We are committed to affordable housing, and we will follow through.
The honourable member for Newton-Tecumseh-Gwillimbury.
Every dollar the Liberals spend comes right out of the pockets of Canadians. Under Trudeau, the Liberals' consumer carbon tax made everything more expensive, while their record spending led to higher prices and lower paychecks, with the debt burden falling on younger Canadians most of all. Now this Prime Minister is doubling down in his budget with an industrial carbon tax, more costs, and billions more in deficits. Justin Trudeau already mortgaged Canadians' future. So why is this banker Prime Minister foreclosing on it?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, while the party opposite is focused on their leader and what he said last week, we are laser focused on Canadians. On November 4th, We are going to table a generational budget, Mr. Speaker. We are going to invest in Canadians. We are going to invest in Canada, and we are going to build. We are going to invest in infrastructure, defence, housing. Mr. Speaker, we believe in Canada. I ask the party opposite to support our budget on November 4th. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Newcastle-Tecumseh,
I ask
Glenbury.
the party opposite, haven't Canadians sacrificed enough? For 10 years, they've paid the price for a Liberal carbon tax. This government falsely claimed would put more money back in their pockets than it took out. Now, this Prime Minister is pulling the same stunt with his industrial carbon tax. He claims there's no impact, even as it increases costs on farm equipment, fertilizer, and ultimately groceries. Conservatives want an affordable plan. Will the Prime Minister scrap his industrial carbon tax in his budget so families can eat again?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, while the party opposite is focused on imaginary taxes, we are focused on real tax cuts, cutting taxes for 22 million Canadians, cutting the GST for first-time home buyers. Interest rates are going in. We're moving forward with initiatives like the school food program, personal support workers credit. Mr. Speaker, we're focused on affordability for Canadians. I wish the party opposite would stop the rhetoric, get on board, support our budget November 4th. Thank you.
I wish you would go see
The
a
honourable
tailor.
member for Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals aren't satisfied with 2.2 million Canadians visiting a food bank a month. The new fuel tax will chew up any savings at the gas pump. Grocery prices haven't come down since COVID. Now, we'll never get a break at the cash register. Will the Liberals kill the new fuel standards tax so people can afford to eat?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The members opposite remain fixated on imaginary taxes, and on this side of the House, we remain focused on the supports for Canadian families to help them fight food insecurity. We do this with the program, for example, the National School Food Program, which we are making permanent, the disability benefit, the dental care, child care, and a national housing strategy. Time and time again, we are there for Canadian families, and members opposite vote against these investments in our communities.
The honourable member for Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke.
The new fuel tax will put more ethanol in your gas tank, so you'll have to visit the pumps more often. It'll also cut supply, so the fuel will cost more. When fuel goes up in price, the cost of everything goes up. Yep. The Liberals have a chance to kill the new fuel standards tax with the budget. Will the Liberals use the budget to kill the new fuel tax?
Whoever's in the tech room in Parliament
The Honourable
keeps turning the
Parliamentary
volume
Secretary
down.
to the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we empathize with struggling families, but unlike Conservatives, our government is stepping up to help them with affordability. We cut taxes for 22 million Canadians, reduced GST on new home purchases, significantly reduced childcare fees, cut the cost of basic dental coverage, and funded healthy food in schools. Common sense says when families save money on their taxes and on childcare and the like, they have more to spend on groceries. But common sense doesn't seem to be so common in the Conservative Party today because they've opposed all of these cost savings measures. Canadians want to know, where are the common sense Conservatives?
The honourable member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
Mr. Speaker, if their policies worked, why are over 700,000 children lining up at food banks? That's right. The Prime Minister promised he'd be judged by the cost at the grocery store. Well, the verdict is in. Food inflation up 4%. We now have 2.2 million people visiting food banks in a single month. And by the federal government's own analysis, a $1.3 billion food packaging tax that's baked right into the cost of every meal. So while Canadians are skipping meals, these Liberals are feasting on new taxes. Will the Prime Minister stop cooking up new hidden costs and scrap his food packaging tax so Canadians can afford to live?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
Conservative members seem to enjoy talking Canada down, talk about imaginary taxes. It's almost as if they're cheering for the LA Dodgers instead of Canada's team last night. Mr. Speaker, while Conservatives vote against jobs measures that support Canadians, we're investing in them. We're building major projects, building homes right across the country. Canadian steel, Canadian lumber, Canadian unionized worker. We're putting people to work, strengthening communities, building a future that Canada can be proud of. So here's my question. Will Conservatives vote for the budget, or will they trigger our next Miss election?
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent Akia-Wenrack. The Prime Minister said he'd be judged on the price of food, and now we see the results. Grocery prices keep going up. In fact, twice as fast as inflation. That's the Liberal record after 10 years of neglect. Can the Prime Minister, in his budget, scrap the taxes that affect food and let Canadians live affordably? The Honourable Minister of Transformation. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers and Canadians judged the opposition leader and how his plan was not credible or serious. We, on this side, have a plan to grow the Canadian economy and also to make life more affordable. We're going to make the national school program permanent, and I would invite, if there's any doubt about how effective our program is, which one of his colleagues called garbage, come to my riding. We'll visit some of these places, the United Way and so on, and see how effective the programs are. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent Akia-Wenrack. Mr. Speaker, these Liberals are so effective that there are over 2 million Canadians using food banks monthly. 2.2 million Canadians. That's the record of this Liberal government after 10 years. Shame on those people. And this is what people are beginning to realize. The more the Liberals spend, the more things get expensive for Canadians. Can the Prime Minister scrap food taxes in his budget and allow Canadians to have an affordable life? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, he'd like to talk about a direct impact on Canadians and on the cost of living. Let's talk about the National School Food Program. That's $800 per family. What about the fact that we've cut taxes for 22 million Canadians? That's also $800 per family. And what about the child benefit, which raised so many children out of poverty? Those are all programs they would have scrapped. And while we're at it, let's talk about the dental care program. 20,000 people in his riding alone have had new access to dental care. That's the thing. Those are the things they'd get rid of on the other side of the House, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, the forestry industry and its workers and municipalities were on the Hill this morning. Chantier Bougameau, Domtar, Arbec, the Quebec Association of Forestry Contractors, and also Unifor, the Rive of Antoine Labelle, and the Mayor of Ferme-Neuve. They're all here to demand that Ottawa advance 50% of the amounts payable in countervailing duties, pending reimbursement at the end of the dispute. They expect the federal government to finally support Quebec's forestry industry. When will this government finally take action? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, I welcome them here on the House. I'd be happy to meet with them. I know many of them well. We work with Unifor on other files, and obviously the prevailing situation in the forestry sector has to do with the completely unjustifiable tariffs coming from the White House. So we will support the softwood lumber industry. We will work with them. We already have loan guarantees, which is supported by BDC for $500 million. I'd be happy to meet with my colleague to find solutions for companies in his riding. The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, if Donald Trump's threat to add another 10% in tariffs, if that should materialize, Quebec's forestry industry will be the hardest hit of all industries in Canada, and yet Ottawa's doing nothing. The financial aid promised in August has still not been released. Our workers are still not protected by a wage subsidy, and our companies are still paying billions in illegal countervailing duties without any federal support. Mr. Speaker, Quebec's forestry industry represents 130,000 jobs in 900 municipalities. When will the Liberals take this crisis seriously and do something? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, one thing is clear. This government will go to bat for jobs in the softwood lumber industry, period. And that's why we're working every day with the industry. I had meetings last week. I spoke with the Quebec Minister of Industry last week, Minister Frichette, the Minister of Natural Resources and myself, and the Minister responsible for intergovernmental relations. We are on it, and the fund, one mustn't say that the funds are not available. They have been released. They are available, and I'd be happy to work with my colleague further on this issue.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal government brags every day about all the money they spend, but it's not their money. It's the paychecks of hard-working Canadians. It's money that families could be spending to put food on the table. But instead, this Prime Minister uses it to feed his endless bureaucracy. They snuck in a hidden industrial carbon tax on fertilizer and farm equipment that hits families at the checkout line. Canada should be the breadbasket for the world, but under this Liberal government, Canada can't even feed itself. Will the Prime Minister put partisanship aside and scrap the industrial carbon tax in his budget so Canadian farmers can feed this country?
Hear, hear, hear. You keep messing with the audio. That's literally not me.
Secretary of State for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, Halloween has come early for the Conservatives this year. With their imaginary taxes, their ghoulish views on Canadians, calling Canadian school food programs disgusting, calling the RCMP despicable, and demanding a $56 billion cut that would get OAS and GIS that seniors rely on gutted. Mr. Speaker, today seniors will see in their bank accounts an increase on their OAS and their GIS deposited right into their accounts. This is Canada's largest anti-poverty initiative, and Canadians know that they can trust us to ensure that we have their backs.
Well done. I see that the Honourable Secretary of State is wearing a button. Unless it says "Have a nice day," it would not be permitted. So.
Oh, here we go.
Anyway, I just to let the member know. Thank you.
Can't wear I Heart RCMP
Honourable
pins.
member for Cambridge.
Here, here. Mr. Speaker, Liberals keep saying everything's great, but the only thing growing faster than their debt is the food bank line, while they play hide and seek on taxes. Taxing farmers with a hidden industrial carbon tax while 2.2 million people visit the food bank every single month is insanity. 20% of them work full-time, 33% are children. Anyone but the Liberals can see Canadians are going to bed with empty stomachs on empty promises. Conservatives have a plan to help farmers thrive and families eat. So I ask again, will the Prime Minister support Conservatives' plan to scrap the industrial carbon tax in his budget so Canadian farmers can affordably feed this country?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Canadians know that there are no taxes on their food. So while the Conservatives talk about imaginary taxes, this government is taking real action to support seniors in this country. We're cutting red tape. We're building homes faster. We've introduced dental care that now more than 2 million seniors have access to. We're building an economy that works for everyone. The Conservatives, however, have a record of pushing the retirement age higher, cutting benefits, and leaving seniors behind. While they're voting against every support for seniors and threatening to do that with the upcoming budget, we're empowering older Canadians. We're protecting them and having their back.
The Honourable Member for Kitchener Centre.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar this Liberal government spends comes out of the pockets of Kitchener Centre residents. Hidden, not imaginary, hidden taxes like the food packaging tax is baked into the sticker price, driving up the cost of food. Will the Liberals' own number shows that Canadians' $1.3 billion it will be in costs over the next decade for this tax. The more they spend, the more Canadians pay. Will this Prime Minister put partisanship aside and scrap the food packaging tax so Canadians can afford to live?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, all across Ontario, families are benefiting from, let me get this, Mr. Speaker, $16 a day for childcare, down from $70 a day. Mr. Speaker, this is phenomenal, and it's adding thousands of dollars in the pockets of Canadian families every single month, Mr. Speaker. That's the power of investing in families. That's That's the power of investing in children, and that's why Canadians trust us to have their backs and know that these guys would cut everything they rely on in a heartbeat.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse-les-Étrements-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister wants to be judged on the basis of grocery store prices. Ironically, Liberal hidden taxes on food are driving up grocery costs. We're talking about the industrial carbon tax, the food packaging tax, and clean fuel regulations that increase the cost of transporting, producing, and marketing food. The more the Liberals spend, the more Canadians pay at the grocery store. Will the Prime Minister eliminate these food taxes in his budget and make life more affordable for Canadians? The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Across the way, they're still talking about these imaginary taxes. I spoke to the Breakfast Club of Canada today, and that's an organization that supports many children to have access to the nutrition program in school. They say that making the National Scoot program permanent is an important step for health, learning, and the well-being of children, as well as for social and economic resilience in Canada. I hope my colleagues across the way will support this budget and support this program being permanent. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse-les-Étrements-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, figures are stubborn. Food inflation is skyrocketing, up by 4%. Food Banks Canada reported a record 2.2 million visits in a single month this week. 20% of food bank users work full-time. 33% of users are children. The Conservatives have a plan to make life affordable for Canadians again. I repeat, will the Prime Minister eliminate these food taxes in his budget and make life affordable for Canadians? The Honourable Minister for Government Transformation. Mr. Speaker, it's fascinating to hear the Conservatives tell us about imaginary taxes. There are no taxes on groceries. I'd repeat it for the benefit of the colleagues across the way. If they want to talk about real things, not imaginary things, let's talk about the dental care program that helps about 20,000 people in her riding. How about the food program in schools? Thousands of people in her riding. What about other programs that will help 100,000 kids in Quebec? The very programs that this school food that these agencies support. They only have a plan to sacrifice these programs.
Mr. Speaker, Canada's forestry industry, anchored in my home province of British Columbia, is not just a regional asset, it's a national economic engine. I recently met with BC Council of Forest Industries and forest sector leaders to discuss how we can support this valuable sector that provides over 200,000 jobs and contributes over $25 billion to our GDP. The United States tariffs on softwood lumber are hurting both Canadian producers and American consumers and related industries. While the Conservatives want us to sign any sort of deal, our government's working towards getting the best deal for Canadians and for the impacted sectors. In the meantime, can the Minister of Industry...
Someone just said, yeah, you're done.
Thank my colleague for his important question. Indeed, he is fighting for the Canadian softwood workers, as we are as a government, because we will stand strong against these unjustified tariffs. We'll make sure that we get a good deal, but meanwhile, we're there to support, for them to have access to funding to support their workers, to adapt and pivot, and eventually to make sure that the world knows that the Canadian lumber in Canada actually is the best in the world. So we'll continue to build Canada strong, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
The Liberal government has blown billions more on consultants, on foreign aid vanity projects, and $1 billion legal gun grab that they themselves admitted won't work. The result has been higher taxes, higher prices, a higher cost of living, and an entire generation of young people who do not believe that they will ever do better than their parents. Canadians are cutting back, they're skipping meals, they're lining up at food banks in record numbers, while this Prime Minister maxes out the nation's credit card like it's someone else's problem. Will they finally stop the waste? Stop the taxes, stop the inflationary spending, and put forward an affordable budget for an affordable life here in Canada?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I've got great news for Conservatives. We've actually got a way to help 5.5 million Canadians with the cost of food. Automatic federal benefits. Through Budget 2025, we're going to pre-file taxes for up to 5.5 million Canadians. This will ensure Canadians get the benefits they are entitled to. Wow. I asked the party opposite, on November 4th, you have a choice to make. Will you let the most vulnerable Canadians get these federal benefits, or block the checks and force a Christmas election? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I don't want you filing my taxes for me.
Mr. Speaker, that minister is in complete denial. Here, he sent $8 million to Vietnam to create gender-just rice. What even is that? The endless cycle of deficits, of taxes, of inflations have crushed families. They've crushed young people. They've crushed workers, and their arrogance blinds them to the damage that they themselves have done. If they want to pass a budget, it's simple. Stop the reckless spending, stop the inflation, stop the hidden food taxes. It's up to them to listen up to Canadians and put forward an affordable budget for an affordable life.
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, while the Conservatives are focused on a revolt in caucus, we are laser focused on Canadians. On November 4th, we're going to table a generational budget. We're going to invest in Canada. We're going to invest in Canadians. We're going to build. We're going to invest in infrastructure, defense, housing, aerospace, and national projects. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we believe in Canada. I ask the party opposite to cut the rhetoric, support our budget on November 4th. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We have to try to not be too provocative, because provocation creates disorder, and that's a problem. The Honourable Member for Calgary-Midnapore.
The only thing that's revolting are those answers. The Prime Minister promised Canadians he would stop outrageous spending on high-priced consultants. Only 6 months in, this promise is broken. He's already increased spending on consultants by 37%. That's $6 billion. Whether it's Arrive scam, McKinsey and Company, or now the CRA call centre, the Liberals will always find a way to pay their consultant friends the big bucks. That's right. So when they table their budget next week, how many more billions can Canadians expect to pay Liberal insiders?
The Honourable Minister for Transformation. Mr. Speaker, we've received a very clear mandate from Canadians to reduce the use of consultants, to make the government more efficient, spend less to invest more. That's precisely what we'll do in this historic budget on November 4th to build the very foundations of a strong economy in Canada. I hope the Conservatives will support it.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Midnapore.
Je pense que no. Canadians line up at food banks. Liberal consultants line their pockets. Yesterday, the president of Shared Services Canada admitted they learned a very hard lesson on the contract for CRA call centres, which quadrupled to $190 million under the Liberals' watch. The same hard lesson they learned when GC Strategies blew the roof off of the ArriveCan contract. So I will ask again, how much will Canadians have to pay to Liberal friends and insiders in next week's budget?
The Honourable Minister. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And as I was mentioning, we received a clear mandate from Canadians to have a government that is more effective. We will always ensure we have the best value for money for Canadians, Mr. Speaker. And while we are preparing to present our budget on November 4th to spend less and invest more, we want to make sure we get the best value for Canadian to build the strongest economy in the G7.
For Brantford, Brant, South, Six Nations.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals blew nearly $1 billion on a gun grab even their own minister admits does not work. He was caught on tape telling the truth. It's a waste of money. Yep, right. The OPP wants no part of it, and the only police force they found to enforce their vanity project, its chief is related to a Liberal MP. What? This isn't safety, it's political theatre with a $750 million price tag. When will the Prime Minister scrap this farce and go after criminals instead of law-abiding Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
The
Mr. Speaker, as I announced several weeks ago, we have a pilot project taking place in Cape Breton, which will be expanded to across Canada over the coming weeks. We look forward to law-abiding Canadians abiding by the law. As you know, Mr. Speaker, we have brought in many measures to ensure that criminals are off our streets, including Bill C-14, which I hope the party opposite supports. It is part of a comprehensive plan to attack crime in this country, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Bow River.
Mr. Speaker, this Liberal government is pushing ahead with a costly and misguided gun grab that ignores the real problem: illegal guns smuggled from the U.S. Instead, they're targeting the most responsible and law-abiding Canadians. In Cape Breton, the mayor says he wasn't consulted, the local police union was blindsided, and the project is run by the brother-in-law of the local Liberal MP. Wow. Canadians need an affordable budget for an affordable life. $750 million is being wasted on this program. Mr. Speaker, when the budget pressures are so high, why are Liberals wasting $750 million on political optics and nepotism instead of cracking down on real criminals and keeping Canadians safe?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, our government is doing everything we can to ensure that guns are off our streets. This includes Bill C-12, Mr. Speaker. This includes $1.3 billion investment at our border, 1,000 new RCMP, 1,000 new CBSA officers. We have Bill C-14, which will address the issues around bail. We'll also have a compensation program which will ensure that law-abiding Canadians can get compensation for prohibited weapons, Mr. Speaker, which we hope will be expanded across Canada. This is our approach to a range of issues involving crime, Mr. Speaker. I invite the party opposite to support these initiatives.
The honourable member for York Centre.
This year, the Liberal government will spend $1 billion on interest every week. And while the Prime Minister is planning a record-breaking deficit, his accounting gimmick may put Canada's credit at risk. But last week, the Prime Minister told students they'll have to sacrifice even more. Canadians shouldn't be made to sacrifice. After a decade of Liberal failure, they've sacrificed enough. Yes. They don't want more Liberal debt, Liberal waste, and Liberal corruption. Why is this Prime Minister spending like Justin Trudeau on steroids?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Inflation in Canada has been within the Bank of Canada's target range for over 21 months in a row. The Bank of Canada also cut rates again today by 25 basis points. That's more savings, lower mortgages, and real relief for Canadians. While Conservatives seem to root for a recession in Canada, we're making the investments that are needed for our economy to grow and prosper. Conservatives shout slogans all they want, but we'll continue to implement solutions. They divide, we'll deliver. That's progress. That's what Canadians deserve, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for York Centre.
This Liberal member doesn't understand how bad it is out there. More than a quarter of Canadians cannot afford to eat. And now the Prime Minister is telling a room full of students they'll have to sacrifice even more. Young people sacrificed enough. They've already sacrificed home ownership. And yesterday, CTV reported that young Canadians can't even land a minimum wage job. Speaker, question: will the Liberal budget get spending under control so young Canadians can start affording everyday life?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Speaker, lowest net debt to GDP ratio in the G7, a AAA credit rating, an inflation rate within the Bank of Canada's target range, job numbers that exceeded expectations by 83% last month. Those are Canada's economic fundamentals. And Citibank CEO just last week said Canada, relative to other G7 countries, has debt dynamics and fiscal space that, if used wisely, would unlock a lot of opportunities in this country. That's exactly what we're focused on, Mr. Speaker, in Budget 2025, unlocking opportunities for all Canadians.
The honourable member for Foothills.
We have just learned that India has placed 30% tariff on Canadian peas. This is on top of the 100% tariffs already in place from China. As a result, 80% of Canada's pea markets now face tariffs worldwide. This is putting Canadian farmers at risk as prices have dropped more than 40%. The Prime Minister and his team was just in India, and now they're in China. Every time they go somewhere, it gets worse.
That's right.
What is this government going to do to ensure that our farmers get the tariff relief they need to ensure that they can stay in business?
Right on.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, our government and our Prime Minister have been working hard to ensure that Canadian farmers have access to markets around the world. Part of the work that they've been doing is exactly that, cutting deals with more and more countries to ensure that Canadian farmers can sell their products to more and more markets around the world. And that is exactly what we've been doing from Singapore to Malaysia. These are the things that our government is working hard on. Instead of talking Canada down, Mr. Speaker, our government needs to work with other governments to ensure that markets are available to Canadian producers.
The Honourable Member for Laval-les-Îles. Mr. Speaker, one of the best ways to strengthen our Canadian identity is to give more people an opportunity to discover the places, stories, and landscapes that define us. From national museums to parks and historic sites, these shared spaces remind us of who we are. But for many families, the cost of every outing has to be factored into the budget. Can the Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture and Minister responsible for official languages clarify how our government is helping Canadians explore and celebrate their heritage while keeping these experiences accessible to all? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, last summer, the Strong Canada Pass meant families could discover an incredible country while reducing costs. It was a resounding success. More than 200,000 children enjoyed free admission to national museums. Visitor numbers increased by 15%. Participating provincial museums saw a 26% increase in youth attendance. Parks Canada sites saw attendance increase by between 9 and 20%. We are thrilled that the Strong Canada Pass will be back in the winter and the summer 2026, so Canadians can keep discovering the most beautiful country in the world. The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Millefort. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised to negotiate a softwood lumber agreement with the U.S. today. The forestry sector is threatened with tariffs of up to 55%. Do you know what 55% tariffs mean in my riding of Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean? It means 8,000 jobs at risk, families that just can't pay their bills at the end of the month. Our workers deserve better. Since this Prime Minister took office, tariffs have tripled. Why do the Liberals always hurt forestry workers and their families instead of helping them? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, I understand the anger displayed by my colleague, and I share it because 55% tariffs on our softwood lumber industry is absolutely unacceptable. And this is why this government, on this side, we are here to defend our workers. We're there with the industry. We understand they're going through a crisis right now. We're going to hold their hands. We're going to make sure they can get through this tough patch, and we'll be there with support. We are able to have good conversations, my colleague and myself. We work well together. I'll be happy to help him. The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, the forestry sector is under attack from American tariffs now standing at 45%. In Chaudière-Appalaches, the forestry sector represents $780 million in employment income. This big banker was supposed to fix everything, right? The result is that it costs Europeans less to ship their wood from Germany across the Atlantic by boat than to ship lumber from Saint-Théophile right at the American border, Mr. Speaker. Wow, what a great negotiator. Bravo. My question, will the Prime Minister defend forestry workers? Yes or no? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, the answer is clear. Yes, yes. Yes, yes, we will be there for the forestry sector because we believe in it, but not just because of that. We know there are things we cannot control. We can't control the administration in the U.S., but there are things we can control. We will focus on the support to our workers, our businesses, and we will ensure to be there while they go through this crisis. We will support them, and we will build, through major national projects, a lot of demand for our sector.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Hill South.
Every single dollar this Liberal Prime Minister spends comes straight out of the pockets of Canadians through higher taxes, higher deficits, and higher inflation. While food bank use surges to 2.2 million visits per month, this Prime Minister thinks it's a brilliant idea to blow $8.2 million on gender-just, low-carbon rice in Vietnam. While the Liberals feed their bloated DEI bureaucracy, Canadians are making sacrifices by skyrocketing food prices, record housing costs, and rising unemployment. So when will this out-of-touch Liberal Prime Minister stop funding his radical DEI programs, stop lecturing working Canadians, and finally deliver an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Sport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, every time the Food Bank's report comes out, I read it. I read what the recommendations are and what those organizations that are focused on reducing poverty and food insecurity in Canada recommend that our government does. Our government recommends that we undertake measures like the National School Food Program, a program which one Conservative member from Newfoundland said last week was garbage, Mr. Speaker. We are investing in our social safety net. We're investing in programs that support families. We are investing in Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Well, that side, the Conservatives, talk them down every chance they get.
I don't want to ask members to start from the top answering questions because it eats up time. So let's keep that in mind. The honourable member from Labrador.
Mr. Speaker, the Arctic has been home to Indigenous peoples for countless generations. Inuit Nunangat stands at the heart of Canada's identity, its security, and its future. Last week, the Minister of Northern and Arctic Affairs was in Iceland at the Arctic Circle Assembly, advancing partnerships and Canada's Arctic leadership. Can the Minister tell this House how the new government is acting decisively? They're arguing over there, Mr. Speaker, because they think they're still in caucus. The new government is acting decisively while collaborating with Indigenous leadership to build Canada's North, upholding our sovereignty and securities as threats increase.
The Honourable Minister for Northern and Arctic Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, the world views Canada as an Arctic nation and is watching how we lead. As climate and geopolitical risks emerge, our government is taking action. We are building partnerships with Nordic countries like the Ice Pact, where Polar Max icebreakers will be built right here in Canada and Finland. We have new Arctic radar stations to boost our defense and enhance early warning systems. We just appointed an Arctic ambassador and will have consulates in Alaska and Greenland. These are some examples of our Arctic leadership where we will build, protect, and empower Canada's North.
The Honourable Member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister stands to make tens of millions of dollars in future bonus pay from free registered investment funds in Bermuda and the Cayman Islands. Canadians deserve to know the extent to which the Prime Minister is abusing offshore tax havens. So a simple question, how many other investments does the Prime Minister have in offshore tax havens? Just an answer.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, as you know, Canada has one of the strongest, most stringent ethics regimes in the world. It applies to every single person in this House after a very successful career.
I think, again, I don't like to do this because it eats up time, but I can't hear, so I need to have the Minister repeat the answer from the top.
Mr. Speaker, as you know, and as all members know, we live under one of the strongest, most stringent ethics regimes in the world. That applies to every single member in this House, including the Prime Minister. He has complied stringently, in fact, very proactively with all of these requirements, and the Ethics Commissioner and he, as obviously, have reached in terms of what his filings are, in terms of the screens and the ethics screens that he's put in place. This Prime Minister has gone above and beyond in complying with all matters of the law.
The honourable member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are suffering one of the worst affordability crises in generations. 60% are having trouble meeting their monthly expenses.
Shame.
Half are using credit cards or borrowing money for daily needs,
Shame.
paying interest rates of 19% or more. Food bank usage has doubled since 2019. People shouldn't have to struggle like this in a country as wealthy as Canada. What steps is this government taking to make sure Canadians don't have to go into debt just to feed their families?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm really grateful for that question because the government's taking a number of steps and has been taking steps for a number of years to make sure that Canadians can actually feed their families. For example, the Canada Child Benefit that's lifted 400,000 children out of poverty, Mr. Speaker. That's indexed to inflation. Mr. Speaker, the index to inflation benefits for seniors. Mr. Speaker, the work that we've done on employment insurance to make sure that employees who lose their jobs can actually keep that money while they are on claim. Mr. Speaker, I will tell you that this government will stand with workers, we will stand with families, and I sure hope the member opposite will vote for a budget that is...
That brings question period to an end. We'll wait a minute.
We got a point of order?
We have a point of order. Yes.
In describing a member of this House, and I would ask him to withdraw and apologize.
I will review the matter and get back to the House if necessary. Yeah, we'll have take a brief few seconds.
Okay. I haven't made the next link for committee yet. I'm going to do that here in a minute. I was still kind of not sure. There's two really good committees on. The Finance Committee is studying offshore tax havens, and they have the CRA, the Department of Finance, on the first hour, and then they also have the Parliamentary Budget Officer in the second hour. So I want to catch that, but I think what we're going to do is in the other committee, they're reviewing the Stellantis contract, and they've actually brought the CEO, the president of Stellantis. He's only in for an hour, so I want to kind of see what he has to say for himself, taking a $13 billion contract and then moving jobs to the U.S. So he's going to have to disclose some parts of the contract, whether or not there was a job security measure in there for Canadians. So I'd like to hear what he has to say about that. And then in the second hour, we'll go over to the Finance Committee, and seeing as we can go back, I want to catch a couple of conservative rounds to hear what the CRA has to say about offshore tax havens, because they've already publicly stated that they are investigating Brookfield for possible tax evasion. So I'd like to have an update from them on what they're doing. And yeah, so that'll be in an hour and 10 minutes. We've got a bit of a break before we go to committee. And like I said, I don't have the link yet. Usually I'm quite on that, but I was just so unsure on which one and at what time we're going to cover it. So there's two really good committees on, so at the same time. So I'm kind of excited. But yeah, here we go. Anyway, I need to go make a link for that, and it will be, I'm not going to put it in the chat, but just check on the channel. It'll be there in 10 minutes or so, and we'll switch over to that. So also, if you guys don't want to watch the committee, because I know some people just like question period, we'll be live again at the same time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow for question period. And I haven't looked at tomorrow's committees, but we will be covering some committees as well. So we'll talk about that in the next stream. But anyway, guys, I will see you in an hour. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the super chats from Cindy and Just Me to Cole. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys soon. Cheers, guys.